Life doesn't come with a pause button. I'll just say that again. Life doesn't come with a pause button. I'm your host, Derek, and welcome to Life on Play. This is a space where I put it all out there, where I've been, where I'm going, and all the real highs and lows that got me here. Let's hit play on this episode and let's go for a ride. This is my first episode, and I just wanted to kind of start out with talking about how my life journey has been a major ride. There's been so many ups, but there's been also so many downs. But through the time I have lived, I have realized that I wouldn't trade any of my life experience that I've gone through for anything. Even the horriblest of horriblest, because it defines who I am as a character. It has helped me build character. So today, I just want to talk to you guys about what my journey sort of looked like. I'm not going to go into a deep dive about it all in this episode. I'm going to give you a rough timeline about how everything looked. And in future episodes, we'll dig deeper into each section and how that kind of affected me and how it makes me see where I'm going. And in the future, I do hope to bring other people on to talk about their stories, to see how everybody else has lived life, because as I said, life never stops. You can't click pause on life. Life is always on play. So it all started out in April of 2007 when I was born. I was born to my parents in Tacoma, Washington. I was born Derek Purnell Bolden Jr. When I was born, I was on drugs because of the things my mom decided to do. And I will never hate my mom for it, because I know she struggled, but I don't accept it. But back to what I was saying. I was born in April of 2007 in downtown Tacoma. When I was born, I was on drugs, so they had to do a lot of different tests, pump my system, make sure I was okay, healthy baby. When I finally got the okay, I got sent home with grandma. I am the youngest of my biological family. I got sent home with grandma. My second oldest sister lived with grandma, and so did my parents. My parents, though, were not supposed to be there because I was born on drugs. The things that they have had with other children of theirs, I was not supposed to be in their possession. That's why I went home with grandma. But that was not followed. In that journey, CPS became involved. I moved all over the place. I went from foster home to family members, all over. I would never wish anyone to be in the foster care system at any age, because that is just traumatic, and you will remember the feelings of everything whether or not you remember details. It was years of in and out with a family member with everything else. It finally got to the point where I was back with grandma, and the agreement was my parents would not be there. And like when I was born and got taken away and given to grandma to go live with her, and they agreed not to, they did the same, and mom and dad were let in the home that they were told they were not allowed to be at. And I understand, that's your child. that you want to keep her safe. But my parents made the decision. My parents did. I love my parents to the end of the world. Doesn't mean I'm happy with them. I honestly am uberly mad. It causes so much pain what they have put me through. My whole life I felt like it was my fault, knowing I didn't have control of that situation. So the day CPS came, saw that they were there, I got taken away. That was March 24th of 2011 that I got taken away. That was the day I got put into the Warnock family. The Warnocks were my foster parents for multiple months until we made it official October 21st of 2011, and I officially became a Warnock. My name got changed. I had a forever home, so I was told. The Warnocks already had a kid that they adopted. She's younger than me. I'm the oldest, but she was there first. That made it a little difficult. But me and my sister became best of friends. And to this day, I would consider her my best friend, even though we don't really talk. But through the whole journey, I had so many issues. Mental issues, emotional issues, attachment issues. I have so many different diagnoses. Over my lifetime so far, I've been diagnosed with ADHD, autism, PTSD, anxiety, depression, multiple personality disorder. Actually, it wasn't multiple personality disorder. They said I got diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, which is a little on the harsher end of the spectrum. And there were some other things I also had. My parents tried at the beginning, and it was amazing. I went to speech therapy, occupational therapy. I was in a group therapy. They tried to get me those social skills that I just lacked and had issues with. But I was a very pulled back child from all the trauma I had through my childhood. And the only person I really connected with was my mom. And I feel sorry that I didn't connect with my dad in the same way. I know he's hurt by that. But my trauma made it hard for me to do that. Because every man in my life beforehand has either emotionally, physically, or mentally hurt me. I did not do well with men, which is crazy to think now these days. But I lived life with the Warnocks. My brother officially got adopted a couple years later. I love my brother. I love my sister. We all had our issues. We all were adopted, so we all had something similar in connection. But the hardest thing for me, the biggest thing, was I was a black child in an all-white family who had looks given to them, who had people say things about it, who people didn't believe when I said that's my family. And that was always hard for me. I've done counseling my whole life. My mom was always there. We did so many fun things as a family. My parents supported us really well. But sometimes someone can't do enough. And I'm not saying it's my parents' fault, because I had my own issues. I did some majorly bad things when COVID happened. I was super depressed. I had so many different things going on. When COVID happened, I got put on medication because I was not doing well. And there were some things before COVID, but especially got bad during COVID, when I did some things that I will regret for my whole life. But through all that, I have grown. And it's hard to say I have grown and I don't regret. It's not that I don't regret, because I do regret what I did. I don't regret how I came back from it and grown from it, though. There's so many things I regret I did, but I would not regret the things I learned from those instances. And I could apologize to the person I've hurt and traumatized for my entire life, and it would not go and fulfill anything to the level of me not doing it in the first place. But all that issues of mine made it really hard. And other family members in the house were having a hard time. So there was a time for a couple months that some family members were away getting help they needed. And that's when things went even more downhill from where I thought we were at rock bottom. I became the one who was the man of the house, because my dad was gone with a sibling at their thing that they were doing to get them help. And it was hard. It was me, my mom, and one of my siblings. And I'm the oldest. So, being that, I had to step up in a time where I wasn't doing well. Mom got sick for multiple weeks. That was hard. It was super hard. And during that time, especially, my mom and I's relationship, which is already on the downhill, just tanked. And multiple things happened. I have always struggled with lying, and it's not something I'm proud of. And it's not like I like doing it. I just don't like being the cause of trouble and pain for someone. So I always just have felt that lying would just mean that didn't happen. But that's not the case. I will lie over the littlest things. And that got so hard for my parents, my mom especially, because she's the one who would always be the one dealing with it. And I feel so bad. But there was one day my parents came to me telling me I did something. And this time I actually didn't do it. 100% looks like I could have done it, but I didn't do this. But how are they supposed to know when they don't trust me, because all I did was lie about anything that I did wrong before? Through therapy, we have made a plan that if someone's getting overwhelmed and overstimulated, that we could step aside, take like a 10-minute break, and come back to the conversation. You always come back to the conversation. So in this instance, I got to that point where I needed to get out of the room because I felt like I was suffocating. But a friend was there to pick me up for an event I had that night, and my parents thought I was trying to run. So there was a big physical altercation between me and my parents. No one was physically hurt, but I will say everybody left emotionally and mentally hurt from that. I ended up jumping out the window, running across the street, just sobbing. It was the day that led to the change that I never saw coming in my life. Remember in the beginning when I told you that I was told it's my forever family? Well, it felt like my forever family was falling apart and wasn't as forever as it seemed. The police got involved. No charges were ever made. But we did make the decision that I would go stay somewhere else for that night for the mental health of everybody, because my siblings were there. So that night I stayed somewhere else, went to school the next day, came out of school, and my parents had found a group home for me to go live at and asked me if I wanted to live there. I said yes to going to live at the group home. I honestly didn't feel like I had a choice. After the way home life was, I was in so much pain. And they really didn't seem like they wanted me back home. So I decided to go to the group home. I was there for months. They took me out of school for this time. At this time, I was in junior year of high school. So I missed my whole second half of my junior year. I continued to do family counseling. We tried to work through things, and my parents ended up making a decision to send me to a mental health treatment center in California. But they had a wait list, so I had to wait until I was off the wait list and had a spot open for me to go. When that spot finally came, which came fast, but at the same time I was at the group home for months, I got there, and it was horrible. The staff there were really kind, but nobody there was there for the same issues I had. And the paperwork that my parents filled out, the staff there didn't even believe. Because after a month of me being there, insurance ended up stopped paying because I wasn't homicidal or suicidal. And the staff, they were like, everything in your paperwork we're not seeing. That's the point where I realized that all the issues my parents were saying were issues was not fully on me. I'm not saying that I wouldn't take credit and accountability for my actions. But I'm not a black and white person like they make me out to be. I'm not a person who just doesn't do authority. Because the thing is, I know who's above me, and I can follow what they say. It was just harder with me and my parents. And I never lied to anybody else. It was just my parents. My parents were a source of trauma that I never realized I took from my biological family and put on them. And I am sorry for that. But the day I found out I was going home, I was deeply hurt. I was told my dad was going to be there in less than 24 hours to pick me up. To find out that the rest of the family knew a week in advance. I just wasn't told. And it was hard. So I got home late the next night. And that was when I realized home was not home anymore. This is my first time home since everything happened. My mom would barely look at me, barely talk to me. She gave me a side hug. We are big huggers in our family. A side hug really hurt, and it was hard. My siblings barely wanted to talk to me. I had a schedule now of when I went to bed, when I wake up, when I did this and that, because that's what they decided on. So that's when I walked down the hallway towards my room for the first time since the beginning. And that's when I realized everything. The second I walked into my room, it was totally different. It was empty. My bed was in the middle of my room. 2 of my bookshelves were missing. My dresser had none of my clothes in it. While I was gone, they boxed up all my stuff. The agreement that we talked about beforehand was I would go back to school, finish out my junior year, recapture the credits that I missed while gone. They ended up deciding I wasn't going to go to that school anymore. So I wasn't going to go to school for the rest of my junior year. They were going to send me to the alternative school where they already got me signed up for. I went to a meeting there when I got home. We talked there. The school's like, this isn't really a space for him, but my parents are like, this is where he's got to go. And that's when I finally got my first job. They're like, since you're not in school, you're going to get a job. And I was fine with that because home didn't feel like home. So I didn't really want to be there. My parents didn't like some of my coworkers over some situation in the very beginning. And whenever I went to work and came home, no one asked me how my day was. It felt like I was living in someone else's home. It wasn't comfortable. It wasn't safe. Did I do things with my family? Yeah. We watched Lost. We started that, and that was amazing. But that's the thing. No one talked to me. We just did things. Whether or not someone liked it, it was so hard. I don't know what I would do to try to fix that, because no one wanted to talk to me, and if they did, they never expressed it, and if I tried, it would never showed. So after 2 months of working at Jimmy John's, and me not be able to talk to my friends because my parents didn't like my friends, not be able to go to school, and the only social thing I had was a group I got put in and work. I decided that with my paycheck, I was going to go buy a phone. At this point in life, I'm 17. I went and bought a phone and a phone plan. And I didn't tell my parents about it. But I knew they knew because my parents manage every transaction I put on my card. So I knew they knew that I bought it. They never brought it up, though, until counseling the next week, where they brought up Derek has a secret phone. I hate the language secret phone. Did I tell you guys about it? No. But you guys knew. I knew you knew. You knew I knew you knew. So, I still wouldn't consider it a secret. They, at that appointment, gave me 2 options. I could either give them my phone or find another place to live. I'm a very indecisive person, and they knew that. So they said you have 24 hours to make a decision. I'm like, okay. After that, I went to a appointment in a different city. It's a couple cities over. It was my autism testing appointment because I hadn't got my diagnosis for my autism yet. And the testing for that is crazy. It's long. After that testing, I came out and we drove home. And me and my mom got into it. And it ended up with Mom pulling off to the side of the road, getting out of the car, and leaving for hours. I felt abandoned and alone. She turns out that she was just in a parking lot across the street, but I didn't know that. At that point, with everything else going on, it made me seem like they didn't want me anymore. So it really didn't feel like it was a decision of whether or not I wanted to give them my phone or not. It was a decision on whether or not I felt like I was wanted or loved or belonged or not. After a couple hours of me crying on the phone to my friends, I made a couple TikToks because I was upset, and that's something I like doing with my friends. So I decided to make a couple, which my mom was like, "You seemed happy." I'm like, I was in mental disarray. I tried to do something to cheer me up. But my parents ended up calling back. And yeah, I said my parents because my mom came back and my dad was there. And they said they had 20 minutes to make a decision. That stressed me out. I was crying. After 20 minutes, I didn't have a decision. They came back and I told them that. And they said, "Well, I'm sorry, you're not welcome to our home. Good luck." And they both left. I was crying. I was sobbing. I ended up calling the group home I was at and saying, "This is a situation. Do you have a bed for me to come and stay in tonight?" They did have a space for me to go, but they wouldn't be able to pick me up. And it was not close. But I had money, so I ended up getting me an Uber there. I told my mom, because they had to get permission from my parents, and my parents approved it. But I told my mom I needed some things from home. My mom was like, "Okay." She came back a couple hours, like 5 hours later. It was like 8 p.m. at this point. Brought me some stuff. And this is another mistake I regret. When she gave me a piece of paper to sign stating that I was choosing to do this and not forced to do this. I didn't feel like I had an option. I felt like I was kicked out of my home. I felt like I was kicked out of my home before I was kicked out of my home. I went to the group home. I was there for a week before I went to Young Life Camp, where I had a blast, but it was super hard. Came back and I moved in with a friend whose mom said I could go stay with them. My mom brought my stuff over while I was gone. I was there for a couple months before me and my friend's mom got into it over a couple issues, which was my fault. And honestly, it was some of the things I did to my parents that my parents had issues with. But at the same time, my friend's mom saw the issues that my mom was doing that I kept bringing up and everybody was saying was a non-issue. And she experienced it. So after everything that happened with my friend's mom, and I went to my senior year, forced my parents to switch me back to my high school, so I had a constant, so that was great. But after the issue, I moved in with my cousin and my sister. And my cousin and my sister are my biological ones, and I love them. My biological cousin has been there for me through everything. I was in and out of multiple family members' houses though during the time because of different things happening. I was doing multiple classes at a time. I was stressing out. But the thing is, I graduated on time. My parents didn't believe I would. We did family counseling, then we stopped when my mom outed me. I was like, I'm done. And then she stopped talking to me. I didn't fully go cold turkey. I just wasn't really talking. I said I wasn't doing family therapy anymore. Doesn't mean that I won't talk to you. I'm just not doing the family therapy at the moment. It hurt too much to dig deep when someone just did a big cut like that to me. So she wouldn't talk to me. So at graduation, I invited them to my graduation party. They said no. I didn't invite them to my graduation ceremony because I had 8 tickets total. And they weren't talking to me. I didn't feel like they've been there for me. So I chose the people who have been there for me through the whole journey of my senior year that I did on my own. That day, I found out my parents left town the day of graduation, and they were gone while I was graduating, and that hurt. Because I texted my dad the night before, which I know was a little late, that I want to see them. The reason they left was because Mom was hurt that she wasn't invited. If you were that hurt about it, you would have talked to me. But no, I'm blocked on your phone. You have me blocked. So that hurt. So I go through life. I'm graduated. I had a little party with some people that mean a lot to me. I was living at one of my biological sister's house at this point. And then it got to the point where she physically attacked me, and that hurt. Not just physically, but emotionally, because I never expected that to come from any of my family members like that. That night, I ended up sleeping outside, and then the next day, I ended up going to a homeless shelter where I lived for a couple months. Got a job at Chipotle. Got a apartment while there after a couple months. I'm living in that apartment still right now. I don't work at Chipotle no more. Management was horrible, but I'm doing way better. I tried to start family counseling with my parents again because I wanted the family to get back together. I miss my brother and sister. I miss my parents. And in the end, I don't feel like it's gotta work because I'm expected to put all the effort and power into that. So I was just done, exhausted, and I got fired from my job at Chipotle the day after one of my biological sisters ended up in the ER from overdosing, and she ended up passing away. The day of the funeral, we were supposed to have our family counseling session, and the way my parents responded was horrendous to me. I'm sorry, it really hurt. So I don't feel like I want to continue going to family therapy when I didn't want to go to family therapy. I just wanted to talk. I did it for them. That's what I have realized. I have to do me for me and not do me for someone else. I start a new job here in a week. I turn 19 next week. I'm excited for the journey life is going to bring. I can't wait for the day I end up in a relationship. A day I finally have the job I want. The day I finally have the car I want, the home I want, to live in the place I want, to have a family. I can see it, officially see it for me and not for anybody else. And that's the general story of my timeline. I will go into more details about everything in multiple different episodes. The next episodes, I'll probably talk about my birth family, my birthday, and everything else that goes along with that as my birthday's coming up, and talk about more of my adoption journey and the meaning behind it. I'll take a more deep dive into that, and I'll see if there's some people that I could talk to who will be willing to talk to me and bring that on. I'm just glad to be able to get my story out there. And if you connect with my story, great. If you don't, you can just see where someone else's life has been. This is the thing. There will always be someone who's living a life better than you, and always be someone who's living a life worse than you. There's so much that goes on with that. But that will be another episode. Sorry how long this episode has gone, and that was a little more than I was expecting to say. But I hope you enjoyed. Again, my name is Derek, and this is Life on Play. Life will never pause. Life will never stop. Just know you always have to keep going and put a feet forward. Baby steps will add up. I hope you have a great day, evening, wherever you are. If you're in a time of struggle, I hope you get better. If you're in a time of celebration, know that it's okay to celebrate. And everybody, know it's okay to not be okay.